Welcome to Newsroom, live from Islamabad. I'm Sharmeen Ali. Prime Minister Imran Khan held high-level meetings with his cabinet as well as senior officials in the government, and he also had a video conference with the chief ministers in order to have a coordinated strategy about how to contain the coronavirus spread in Pakistan. And also he discussed how the economy will be impacted due to this virus and what measures the government plans to take, including approaching international agencies such as the World Bank for relief during this crisis time. We'll be talking about that in our program today. Now, also in the United States, the US presidential race continues and the Democratic candidates have now taken their campaign online. Joe Biden, former vice president, as well as Senator Bernie Sanders are now conducting all of their campaign online. It's all virtual, and they've cancelled their rallies, which were something that were very important, crucial for this campaign. And also going forward, one of the issues that has become forefront in this presidential campaign is now healthcare, because the US is facing this major coronavirus threat at the moment, and its spread and how to contain it is becoming a big issue as well. We'll also be talking about the new chat bot that has been introduced by the government, and the special advisor for the Prime Minister, Tanya Idris, has said that for setting up the national dashboard in such a short notice, we now have a holistic view of the active cases from across the country, and this will aid in providing timely and data-driven decisions as the situation changes in real life. So this chatbot is going to give information which is badly needed to the country. And we'll also be talking about how a new vaccine test has started already in the United States on healthy people to see its effectiveness over the next 1 year. So to begin our program, we'll be talking now about our first story, the government's measures to contain this virus and the very crucial strategy to combat the economic impacts also in Pakistan, due to the fact that already Pakistan's economy is slow and it can further get impacted by the coronavirus fears. We have with us today in our studio Mr. Abdullah Yusuf, who's an economist. So thank you, sir, for joining us on our program today. And sir, let's begin with the measures to contain the coronavirus. The Prime Minister has been in touch with all the provincial departments. They ordered the closing of the Afghan and Iran borders right now, and also only 3 airports are functioning as far as travel is concerned internationally. He also cancelled the 23rd March parade has been cancelled, which is unprecedented here in Pakistan, except for during the time of terrorism. Closure of schools has been announced also, and he's also called for banning of large events, and marriage halls, etc., are to be closed as well. So, I mean, being a country with our limited health resources, these measures, in your opinion, I think are pretty strong measures to be taken.
You see, now the issue of this coronavirus is an exceptional matter. And now we are actually having to deal with it, and it's become a global issue, as a matter of fact, all over the world, literally going around the world. And obviously we have to also see whatever is necessary and possible to try and protect our people. And for that, the government has already announced, as you just mentioned, several measures. And it is basically to try and, as a matter of fact, prevent people for get-togethers and things like that.
Right.
So that, you know, they don't have too much of that
The social
close
distancing
interactions, which will then convey or pass on the actual, you know, virus that one is trying to protect.
Right, and the health minister has announced that he'll be daily speaking to the public at somewhere around this time, and this is also important as far as dissemination of information and sort of calming people's fears are
Obviously, he is actually fully involved, and he is updating people, trying to actually give them the confidence also that you don't have to worry that much, and we are taking whatever necessary actions. But of course, there is one issue, I would say, that with all these activities being stopped, as a matter of fact, you are actually now affecting the actual economy's growth.
Exactly. That's one
and
of the big issues.
the employment also issues.
Right.
So it's not something that we can just carry on like this. I hope that this is only a matter of few days, as it has been said that it is for 2 weeks, and we now want to wait and see what actually happens going forward. But this is quite an exceptional situation which has happened.
Absolutely.
And starting from China, and the way it just
Right.
spread.
Now, seeing from other countries' experience right now, especially in Europe, and we're finding that Pakistan, the numbers that we're seeing, we're also seeing that they're sort of multiplying daily. We're seeing that they've sort of shot up in those countries. They were in the same place we were a few weeks ago. So the measures they've had to take are much more stringent than what we're doing right now. We've taken measures, but they've also had to start just keeping everybody completely in isolation in their homes, specifically like in Italy and France, etc. So if that were to happen in Pakistan, and if that was something that was required, naturally that is going to affect our economy a lot, because then all the economic activity kind of comes to a halt.
Absolutely.
Now, those governments are coming up with relief packages. The Prime Minister has also said that they're also going to consider approaching the World Bank, etc. So, in your opinion, what would we need to do then?
You know, even the Prime Minister has already requested that there is a need for the, smaller and less developing countries to be supported or funded, with some money.
And for the loans might need to be waived off, he said in an interview recently as
that
well.
is what he has actually said, that you should consider this so that they don't have that economic problem, because this is all a question of resources which are going to be obviously affected. So we have to then wait and see what is the response of the World Bank, WHO, these international bodies. How will they actually react and deal with this international issue?
Right, okay. So we have in Pakistan now and all over the world, we're seeing number one, the stock exchanges are plummeting on an ongoing basis. There we see a slight improvement, and then you see further decline. And these are all the indices all over the world, whether it may be Hong Kong or Japan or the United States, England, Pakistan as well. So that's basically sentiments of investors, because there's a panic right now. People don't know what to expect. So that is going to happen. A lot of money kind of flows out of the economy when this happens as well.
Absolutely. People are losing confidence, obviously, and when you talk about any investment, it is always a matter of confidence. So if they are not going to actually be sure that what is going to happen with their investments and things like that, so they just don't want to leave it there. They will start withdrawing, and when you start withdrawing in your stock market, is just going to go down, which it's already started going down.
Right.
And that's the, I think, big issue that we are having to face now. And it's a matter of challenge now, I would say. And things are not going to be that easy.
They're not going to be easy,
and
because
it will take time also.
Because there's a lot of unknowns now, where we see the coronavirus as opposed to the seasonal influenza that all countries experience. There's a sort of knowledge about how many people will be affected or going to hospitals and what to do and when it's going to end. In this case, that uncertainty is there. And we're also seeing the hospitals in the countries which are badly affected right now, they're overwhelmed. The health staff are overwhelmed and they're, the systems aren't able to bear it. Now, in a resource scarce country like Pakistan, with our resources and our healthcare resources, do you think this will be something that we'll be able to manage effectively?
Well, this is again, as I said, we have this as a challenge, and it's not going to be that easy, because if it spreads out in the manner that we are seeing in some other countries of the world, you are not going to be able to actually provide all that necessary infrastructure support,
Right.
because you're not having it ready, and it is something which has just happened
Right.
suddenly.
At this point, I've got online with us Ms. Meher Tarar, who's the representative for the Punjab government. Thank you for joining us online.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. Ms. Tarar, can you just inform us a little bit about right now the current situation in Punjab as far as coronavirus cases are concerned?
The Punjab government, the chief minister just had a meeting with his committee on coronavirus. I am not privy to the details of that meeting. I should be in a while, but I don't know what was said or discussed and planned in that meeting. So far, there was I had heard, and like it was all over media. There was this one case from Mandi Bahauddin, and the person died in the Mayo Hospital. But he has been tested, and the test is corona positive negative. I mean, coronavirus negative. He has not been. He did not have coronavirus.
Right.
So that is the only case that has been made public so far. Because I do believe that it's not that the government would keep anything undercover. This is the kind of situation where they have to make everything very transparent, because the only prevention of this this virus at the moment, or even in the future, is prevention. People need to be fully aware of what it is and how they can keep themselves safe. And for that, because if you look at Pakistan, if you look at Lahore or any other city in Pakistan, I don't think people have been made aware. People have even the slightest idea how dangerous this virus is and what they should be doing. Because if you talk to people, they think that it's not going to affect them by some miracle, and they have their own theories and they have their own. But what I'm trying to say is that this is the time when Pakistan government and all central government, provincial governments, they should unite, and they should all uh, come up with a plan that is applicable to the entire country. And that's that's all. And of course, media has to play a very important role. It's through media that people will be told what is to be done and what they should be doing at this time.
Right. So, Miss, I'd now like to ask you exactly what is the number of cases in Punjab at the moment, and what is the government doing to contain these?
As I said, that I should be able to give you an exact number after I know the details of the last meeting. What I heard a while ago was that there I think there were 25 or 26 cases. I'm sorry, I may be saying the number wrong. I did have the number, but I heard so many numbers that I finally got confused, that I didn't know what to believe. So I'm waiting for the Punjab government to give a confirmed number today. I think they should be doing that very, very, very shortly. So let's wait for that, because they had a meeting, and because as you're aware that every 5 minutes there's new information, and I don't want to be one of those people that I give a number and then that number turns out to be fake. What they are doing is that what I just heard was that they are making sure that they close down more and more places. That Punjab Assembly sessions have been cancelled, and where weddings, they already put an end to weddings. Now each and every public assembly is going to be stopped in Punjab, and that is the most important thing. this disease has to be contained. People need to stop interacting with one another. People need to be in their homes, other than for essential things that they need to do. But and that is, I'll keep saying it. The most important thing to do right now is for media and government to get together, to unite on this. Well, a few hours ago, the number was 193 in Pakistan, and the number in Punjab was 6. So that was about 4 hours ago. So I'm not really sure what the number is right now. But a few hours ago, it was 6 confirmed cases of coronavirus.
Right. Okay. And how about in the case of testing? What is the criteria for people being tested in Punjab? And how much testing is going on there? What should people do who suspect that they might have symptoms of this virus?
As I said, that I'm sure that the mechanism has been put into place all over Punjab. I'm sorry, I do not have full information about this, but as soon as they have the symptoms, people have been advised. You know the symptoms. If you have a strange kind of cough, if you have difficulty breathing, the symptoms that have been talked about on media all the time. There are campaigns, awareness campaigns on radio. Even it has started in mosques. Awareness, but people to be aware of what is happening. So yes, they have been told that as soon as you have these symptoms, get yourself tested. There are private labs and of course government labs. Now the other important thing is that the results should be made available very quickly, so that that person can be quarantined. But I'll keep coming back to this, that if media keeps highlighting this issue, then people will know that even if you think you have a symptom and you're in a situation that you can't get yourself tested, what you can do is keep yourself within the four walls of your room. Do not step out, and do not even interact with other people in your own house. And because you see, in a country like Pakistan, there are so many diseases, and there are so many people who suffer from asthma, sinus related programs, diseases, and there's different kinds of cold, and then and cough, because of our pollution and because of a lot of other environmental factors. These issues are already there, so it's very hard to distinguish for a normal,
Right.
ordinary, lay person to even understand what is happening to
Right.
him or
Thank you
her.
so much. Thank
So
you so much for joining us on our program today. That was Meher Tarar, who was the representative for the Punjab government, speaking to us. Sir, back to you. We've heard what the representative for the Punjab government is saying, that they're thinking of suspending a lot of social activity. Public assembly will probably be stopped. The Punjab assembly sessions have been stopped. Marriages have been stopped. So, like we were talking earlier, that this is going to again impact small businesses, it's going to impact the entire economy. And as far as what she was also saying, that as far as health is concerned in Pakistan, I think this might be leading towards a new normal where people are more cognizant of hygiene and health standards and safety for their families as well. It might lead to something like that as well.
Obviously, this would, I think, definitely change your present way of life, I would say. You are going to have to now actually comply with a lot of these requirements which have been suggested, that you are not going to, shake your hand meeting anybody, and you are going to keep inside the house or your room and not go out and into any kind of functions and things like that.
Right.
All these things are, I would say, new challenges
Right.
for us.
So the closure of all these public gatherings and all. Now let's talk about the different industries that are going to be impacted by this. There, like we said earlier, small businesses, catering businesses, restaurants. If people are not allowed to go to restaurants, wedding halls that are being shut down. Then you have the workers who are going there. There are going to be a lot of, especially with social distancing and isolation, a lot of daily wage workers are going to lose their jobs. So,
Yeah.
in what ways can the Prime Minister Imran Khan's government mitigate these? Because he did say that he wants to ensure uninterrupted economic activities. Now we don't know to what extent that's even possible, and then he wants to protect jobs. So how do you think he can do that?
Obviously, as I said, it's a challenge for the country, for the government, and it's not something that you will be able to actually just manage it easily. And it will, unfortunately, have that impact also on the economy.
And how can the common man be assisted in this? Do you think that the government can give greater subsidies to people in the day-to-day items, or maybe increase BISP support for some of those families?
You see, this issue of subsidization and things like that, that's a big issue for us in any case. And it's a matter of finances. Now, we are not having those type of surplus resources to dish out and give as much subsidy as you want to. That's a big issue for the country, for the economy. So they'll have to see, the government will have to see to what extent they are going to be able to do so, and in what manner they are going to actually facilitate those people, particularly the lower income groups who are actually going to be affected, to help them. And that is a big kind of an issue at the moment.
And a lot of the countries that are impacted right now are coming up with packages, for example, for paid leave for their citizens, so that they can isolate, because a stage could come for Pakistan where we have to isolate ourselves like they're doing in Europe. So they've come up with packages such as paid leave, or rent, not being able to defer their rent, and utility payments, etc. So do you foresee that something like that might be needed here?
Now you see, all these things are actually those challenges that you are having to face, and we will have to see whatever is actually possible for us to be able to manage.
Okay, so we also have with us online right now Mr. Mehtab Haider, who is a journalist and who focuses on the economy. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
Mehtab Sahab, can you just tell us a little bit about the government's now mitigation efforts that were discussed in yesterday's meeting? Where do you think that could reach, so that the impact, the economic impact, particularly on the most impoverished people in Pakistan, can be lessened?
Ma'am, actually, because of this coronavirus, there will be impact on our imports, on our exports, and there is also a possibility that it might also affect our overall GDP growth target. As you know, the government of Pakistan had invested the GDP growth of more than 3%, actually 3.5%. After this eruption of this coronavirus, now this GDP growth target would have to be revised onward, and there is also possibility of lockdown, and it might also halt the economic activities. As you have already learned that export orders might have cancelled, and there might be also possibility of imports disruption. So overall, we can only pray that it might not have a larger extent affecting Pakistanis, but there are possibilities of negative impact on our economy. And no, as just I am coming out of State Bank of Pakistan. State Bank of Pakistan had already reduced its policy rate by 75 basis points, and also announced some other incentives for the manufacturing sectors and for the health sectors to mitigate the risks of this coronavirus. So these kind of all steps can help us to avoid its large-scale negative effects.
Right. Can we expect some kind of relief from international agencies coming forward, specifically for our healthcare sector and, like you were saying, other sectors that are being impacted as well?
Ma'am, as you know, the International Monetary Fund and World Bank had allocated certain resources to combat with this dangerous coronavirus. So Pakistan can also avail this financing facility both from the World Bank, ADB, and from International Monetary Fund. And yesterday, the advisor to PM on finance had already told the journalist that the expenditures incurred on combating coronavirus, they will not include into the overall budget deficit. It's a relief from the IMF because in IMF budget deficit, the sacrosanct kind of target, and if IMF relaxed that kind of budget deficit target by allowing Pakistan to spend more generously on this virus, it would be great relief for Pakistan.
Right. Okay. We've also seen in Pakistan a bit of an interruption of the supply of goods from China because China's own manufacturing is also slow as well. So, how far do you think that will affect Pakistan's economy going forward as well?
Ma'am, as you know, Pakistan imports are majorly reliant on Chinese side. And as you know, almost 12 to 14 billion dollars imports are coming from China. And if there is a disruption, then we will have bigger problems to our export-oriented sectors as well. For instance, textile, because raw material, machinery, and intermediary goods are coming from China. So if there will be disruption, it wouldn't be good sign, a good omen for Pakistan's economy. So our major exporters, if they are facing some kind of problems for bringing their goods or their raw material and machinery and intermediary goods from China, so they are already in search to ensure their supply from other countries. But as you know, this virus has already expanded into the different countries. So if their overall supply chain got disrupted, they wouldn't be able to ensure delivery of their orders on time, and it wouldn't be good sign for our export sector as well. So we are heavily reliant on China, especially on our trade relations and on the context of China-Pakistan economic corridor as well, because you know China is investing heavily. So if there is a prolonged or persistent disruption over next few months, then it would not be a good sign for Pakistan's economy.
Right. Thank you, Mehtab Haider, for joining us online. Sir, back to you now. We're hearing about the global impacts of this virus, and many people are predicting that there could be a global recession because of this. Already, the entire world economy started to slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, this is unfortunately exceptional kind of global issue which has just started, and it has the impacts or will have the impacts which will impact the overall economy of the countries, and that becomes a very big challenge for each country, I would say. for every country.
Right, and the majority of the industries that are being impacted right now are travel and tourism. Many of the major airlines may be declaring bankruptcy as early as next month. And the US president has said that he's going to be giving relief to those, they'll have to give relief to that sector. And, you know, we're just, obviously that's something that affects the world markets, everything. Then you're also seeing massive layoffs going on by these companies that are being affected. It's not just travel and tourism, it's also the entertainment businesses as well, movie theaters, restaurants, like we were saying earlier. They're having to have massive layoffs. How is the economy going to absorb all of this?
This is what I'm saying, that all these are going to be big challenges for the countries, and you'll have to see now how you're going to be able to finance these things. You're not going to have those resources. And now you're going to give them some money, you're going to donate something, or what? How you're going to actually manage that? That's a big kind of a liability for the government.
Right.
And you can't just keep kind of throwing away the money which you don't have.
Right. And it's going to take a long time for everybody to kind of recover from this, all the businesses and the different industries that are being impacted.
Obviously, the effect of all this kind of a situation on the industry, on various kind of industries and activities, as you have mentioned, that you know, the travel and then the tourism, entertainments, you know, hotels and other things. All these kind of things are actually, if you have, let's say, a hotel, you've invested in that. Now tomorrow you say that this hotel is now closed down. Nobody is going to come to you. So what are you going to do? And how are you going to survive?
Right.
You will have to send off your people, as you don't have any income coming to you, resources available to you.
Absolutely.
So
let's hope for the best going forward, because it doesn't seem like this situation is ending anytime soon, and especially for a country like ours with the limited resources, let's hope that the government can effectively combat this coronavirus epidemic. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Abdullah Yusuf. And now we have with us online Mr. Farooq Patafi, who's a journalist and an analyst. We'll be talking about the US elections and former Vice President Joe Biden's race against Senator Bernie Sanders and how that's all gone online. Thank you for joining us, Farooq.
Thank you.
The US elections now, suddenly it's taken sort of the back seat to the coronavirus, and you're not seeing as much media coverage about that at the moment. It just seems like it's become a secondary issue suddenly.
Yeah, but something very astounding is happening right now. I don't think we have seen anything like this. Recently, when this epidemic actually broke out, at that time it was decided that they are going to go for social distancing. Since then, we have seen one debate between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. That debate was interesting because there was no audience there. One.
Right.
Two, when they had to shake hands, they actually bumped their arms, and they didn't actually go beyond that. Amazingly, while the overall pattern of the race so far is that Biden is winning, but right now what is going on in the U.S. and all over the world actually builds the argument that Sanders has been actually forwarding, that in capitalist countries, the system is so broken because of corporate greed that people's lives cannot be saved. And yet we see that Biden is going from strength to strength. And so far, although the campaign is going on, although the race is going on, we see that the media has not been able to focus that much of late on that debate and that fight, and it has been more occupied with coronavirus because everybody is so panicked, right? So something very new is happening right now.
Right, absolutely. And we're seeing in the news how the polling stations are sort of being reduced so that they can thoroughly sanitize them and disinfect them and all. It's an unprecedented situation in the United States, as you said earlier. Now, what you also mentioned earlier, Senator Bernie Sanders, one of his main campaign issues has been about Medicare for all. And at this point, that's coming to the forefront because there are a lot of uninsured people in the United States. And he's also talked a lot about the middle classes and the worries they face, which has also come forward in the form of people losing jobs right now because of businesses shutting down, or they're not being allowed paid leave, etc. And not, people who need to work from home but can't because of this issue.
Right. On one side, when you look at Bernie's promise, Senator Sanders' promise that he is going to offer a single-payer insurance policy or Medicare, that is quite intriguing. Everybody would want to do it. But you just brought up another very important thing about middle class. Bernie's problem or his entire idea is based on the idea that he's going to raise taxes, and that includes middle class. So that actually is hampering his way. But regarding his policies, I tell you, this is the time when actually we are seeing whatever he has been agitating for past many years. We are seeing a practical demonstration of that because people are literally, the economy is shrinking, and we have seen how Dow Jones has fallen, and we have seen how the stock markets all over the world are plummeting. At that time, naturally, the job market shrinks and people are laid off. Even today, some of the airlines of the U.S. have actually filed for a bailout of worth $50 billion. That is because they cannot. They say that they cannot afford jobs right now. In that
and
situation,
it's definitely a
Bernie
tough
should have been
situation.
performing better.
Thank you, Farooq Patafi, for joining us online. That brings us to the end of our program today. Thank you for watching Newsroom, and we will see you next time.